Okay, so a motion by Christine Ludi for Greg Salazar as vice chair. A second by Matt Martinez. Roll call. Christine Ludi,
Yes.
Matt Martinez,
Yes.
Francisco Apodaca,
Yes.
Lee Einer,
Yes.
Sandra Madrid.
I
And,
think he said yes.
okay.
Well, with that, I guess the next order, I kind of like.
I didn't get to vote.
You don't vote, you don't count.
Okay.
I guess the next order would be to, as a part of this organization, I think you all received a copy of draft charter bylaws. Open for discussion at this point on those bylaws that Scott had drafted up. To begin, I'll basically say I think they were pretty pro forma. I think they meet what we need to get done, and then we could move forward with that. I think that that would be the next organizational thing, is to adopt bylaws so we have a set of rules to really organize and run this commission from.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Francisco, do you need a secretary? Or is it just going to be the chair and the vice chair?
Well, according to the bylaws, if we
does
follow
say-
those bylaws, it said that the secretary would be appointed or a representative of the city. Now, I know that.
Darlene, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Lee.
Are you not functioning as our secretary, Darlene?
I can function as a city representative that would be in charge of taking care of the minutes and be in charge of all the records for the charter commission. If you guys wish to elect a secretary amongst yourselves, that is fine as well.
I think we had,
We'd have to modify the bylaws to
Yeah.
represent that. This way, it's already reflected within the bylaws that a city representative should represent and take the notes and act as secretary. I think that if we follow those pro forma bylaws, it's probably easier and quicker, and we could get through this process a little faster.
Yes, and
Sounds
the bylaws do state that you can elect a secretary or a city representative can serve in that capacity as well. So it's really up to you guys.
Well, with that, it was raised at the last meeting, and I think, Christine, that you did.
Yes.
We did have somebody that was a member of the commission. That would detract from them being able to really participate in the meetings, because you tend to get caught up in minutes or writing down what's going on, and it may detract. I mean, we've got some work to do within this in the review of the charter, and I just don't want to put anything there that would impede the progress or impede the speed that we could get through this.
Right. Okay.
Could I nominate Darlene for secretary? Would I be getting ahead of things to do so?
Well, I think
Well, I don't think we need a nomination in this. If you guys are all in agreement that you want to keep me serving in that capacity as a city representative, then that would be okay. Because technically I'm not a member of the commission, so we don't need to go through the whole nomination and all that.
So with that, then we get back to the original order, is to discuss and vote on adopting the bylaws that were prepared for and presented by Scott as the bylaws of the Charter Commission, which then by default has a city representative. It doesn't name Darlene per se, but if she's going to act in that capacity as representing the city, it's kind of a default mechanism to get either Darlene or some other representative. For example, if Darlene couldn't come that day, somebody else could step in. But if you did name Darlene, that's fine. It's up to her in that particular instance. If she'd like to serve in the capacity as prescribed by the bylaw.
Yes, I'm fine with that. And Mr. Scott Aaron did say that he would like for me to serve in that capacity, and usually the department that's overseeing the commission, we usually have somebody from within that department that would take the minutes and be the record keeper and serve in the capacity as a secretary. So if I couldn't be there, I'm sure that Scott would fill in that aspect, but also because these meetings are recorded, I could always go back and do my minutes from there.
Excellent.
Yes.
I think we were asking for this.
Can I make a motion?
Motion.
I would like to make a motion to adopt the bylaws and rules of procedure for the Charter Commission as prepared by Scott Aaron.
So we have a motion before the body to adopt the bylaws as prepared by the city attorney. Do I have a second?
Are we going to have
I'll second
discussion?
that.
We have a second discussion. Go ahead now, Lee.
Yes. One thing I did notice in reviewing the bylaws, if I'm looking at it right, the means of selection of the members is discrepant with that laid out in the city charter. I think the city charter says that there will be 7 members, 6 appointed by the governing body and the 7th by the municipal judge. And that's not what the bylaws say. If I'm wrong on that, I'm wrong on that, but let's take
That's
a
a
look
good
at
point.
it.
So let's discuss that. Now, because we were all appointed and I was kind of blindly appointed, I had an inkling, I had a call by one of the city councilors that said they'd like for me to, they were gonna submit my name. That's the only thing that I got prior to this. So I don't know who, nor is that, I don't know if it's relevant except for your question as to where they came from, respective of the municipal judge and that of the mayor. To make sure that we complied by the city charter, as you've indicated, Lee, we'd have to have a breakdown of who did what, who nominated who. I don't know if we have that. Darlene, do you know if there's any such record or document of that? Or Matt, go ahead.
You're on mute?
You're on mute, Matt.
Okay, thank you. The last commission actually was done exactly like Lee described already. I was actually appointed by the municipal judge, by Eddie Trujillo, Judge Trujillo. So I landed up getting appointed by him, and then I landed up being chair of the last commission. So I think that what Lee's talking about was what was on the charter originally, but I don't know if it changed officially when we started the new charter. So I would say that.
If I may, guys, real quick, I think that what Lee is saying, that the bylaws are just not consistent with what the charter is stating as far as, I don't think he's saying that you guys weren't appointed in the proper way. I think he's just saying that they're not consistent. So we can go back and look at that and make sure that those bylaws are consistent with the charter. And I did help out with those bylaws a lot, so I will go back and I will check that, and that would be my error.
So with that, and that's a good question. Are we contrary by adopting the bylaws? Are we contrary to the city charter? So that's the question before us, as presented by Lee. Now we have a motion and a second. We could either do a couple things. You could withdraw your motion until we find out, or we could table it for the subsequent meeting to adopt the bylaws at that time. That way we could amend your motion if need be to not be in contradiction to the charter, because the charter would supersede the bylaws at this point since we haven't adopted them. So we have to be really follow the charter at this point until the bylaws are adopted. So with that, Darlene, if you could find out if the those appointments were made in that form so that they were as dictated by the charter, with the mayor having his appointment, council having theirs, and the municipal judge. Because what that represents is the three branches of municipal government. That's basically representatives of the judicial, the legislative, and the executive branch. So with that, not wanting to denigrate or run contrary to the charter, I think we have to have that information. So at this point, we can go two ways. You can withdraw your motion or table the motion. I entertain a motion on either one of those points.
If I may I make a comment?
Yes, go ahead.
On the charter, it says that the governing body may by ordinance establish boards and commissions. So it's up to, the way I'm reading it is it's up to the governing body to do those. And I was asked by the city councilor if I would like to sit, be on the commission. So that's what it reads. On the charter, I'm not sure if otherwise it would be asking you to go and be elected or.
If I can interject, so the charter has two specific different forms, one for boards and commissions, and then one specifically under section 2.04. It really spells out there in that how and where the commission is formed specifically for charter revision. And that's prior to the section that you're referring to, Christine. So I think that the precedent order within the charter would specify that the charter commission itself has a specific order of nomination versus another board or commission. So in trying to, in that spirit, I think, Darlene, if you could ask Scott perhaps to or yourself at the next meeting to let us know if that was in fact followed, so we're not running in contrary in any form or fashion to the current charter. I think that would be the order of business. So again, I go back to my prior question, and Greg, it's to you. Would you like to withdraw your motion or table it till the next meeting?
Maybe we can table it and review the revisions that we receive.
If you'd like, we can table a motion to table. We had a second on the first motion. Matt, do you want to, who made the second? So would you like to withdraw your second and second for the table?
It was Christine.
Oh, Christine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I would.
Then I have a motion to table the prior motion until we have clarification from Darlene or the office of the city attorney. Call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So we'll table that till the next meeting. With that, really, I'd like to make a couple of statements because the business order really of this particular meeting has been met. The organization, I'd just like to kind of revisit the documents that were sent to you, the original charter, the charter, the subsequent charter that Scott sent you that was discussed at City Hall with whether mayor and council, whatever. So there was a draft charter. So we need to revisit both the charter, the original charter, and the draft charter, and look and see where those those differences are. And then we really have to go down and look and see what, if any, areas within the charter need to be addressed. Is there major areas within the charter that could help move the city forward in some form or fashion. The charter itself is to specify an order within the government of business of the city and the future of the city on how things are to be managed. I've seen some problems, and this is a personal interjection. I've seen some problems within the city in that we've had in the last charter, and Matt, maybe you can speak to this after, is that, you know, when I've seen it that when they reduced the number of city councilors to an even number, it really kind of set up the city so that the executive branch could basically usurp the legislative branch by casting the tie vote at all time. And we saw what happened in the last two administrations. I'm not saying it's happening now. I haven't seen it. But the last two mayors are very good at splitting the council and having the vote their way. That's not in the spirit of equitable legislation by any form or fashion. And it provides a mechanism so that one branch of a government, whether it be legislative, judicial, or executive, can overtake other branches. And that's not what the form of government was supposed to be. I think when the framers of the original charter were pretty diligent in the number of councilors they had, and then how things were to progress and move the city forward. And I've seen kind of a sliding action back and forth now for a couple of administrations, and I think that's one of the things that we should look at.
Most definitely.
There's also things.
May I interject?
There's also things that some of the citizens have moved forward to me on and asked me about, like, why do we have to have runoff elections when we have such small council districts? It's extremely expensive. I could see that where we have districts that, say Albuquerque, for example, that have 4,000 or 5,000 voters, but when you have 200 or 300 voters, are you going to change an election by having another runoff? I sincerely doubt it. People aren't going to be swayed that much. And we have to look at that. I mean, that's a point of discussion. And I'm just bringing up points that I think are valid points to discuss as we go forward and provide some form of a charter or revisions to a charter that, one, the council could live with, and two, the voters would like. And I'll open the floor to discussion.
I would like to offer a comment, if I could, slightly off topic, back to the bylaws, because there's a second issue that we should probably look at rather than stubbing our toe on it in the next meeting. If that's okay.
By all means.
The nature of the Charter Commission is that it's an ad hoc commission. In other words, we have a job to do. When our job is done, it's done. That's not the way the bylaws are written. They're really written as if this was a standing committee, and we probably should correct that also.
I did see that. I noticed that, and I noticed that in the draft charter that was presented. So I don't think that they mean for this committee to go on. We're as you mentioned, ad hoc. We're here for a specific mission for not a specified amount of time, but to be done prior to, well prior to the next general election, where the questions, if we do formulate a question on a charter, would be presented to the voters. So we have a finite time and a finite defined mission. So you're right. I don't think it should be a standing committee, but I do think that it should go on. I did notice that in the draft that was sent, the only major revision was that it eliminated the Charter Commission. If you look at the draft, which I don't think we're a citizen-based group. We recognize that we're here to represent different constituents who may have a different thought, and this thing should be a living document that we should be revisited, as the framers wanted to, probably every 10 years, to look at questions. It shouldn't be left aside for the next executive body or legislative body to decide when it's time. It shouldn't be brought by citizens burning effigies in the parking lot either. It should be a regularly set body that revisits. Maybe it's a perfect document and we don't we don't visit it in 10 years, but at least they have the opportunity to. And I think that's
Agreed.
representative government. Go ahead.
You and Matt both touched on what I think is a really important issue, but it's a wonky issue, but it's big. And that is the means by which, and believe me, I was at ground zero for this, the means by which the prior administration kneecapped democracy and really kind of ruled the governing body with an iron fist was through the agenda and how items can be placed on the agenda for action. And it would help us an awful lot if we could put city councilmen back in the driver's seat so that any member of the governing body can add an agenda item without any possibility of it being blocked.
Hey, you guys, this is Scott Aaron, the city attorney. Sorry, I'm to butt in on the meeting here. I just got out of union negotiations. I got a call saying that that there were some complaints about this meeting not being properly advertised or the link provided to the public. And so really sorry to do this. And I don't know if the call came from the AG's office or came from the Optic. I don't know where it came from, but basically was given the instructions that we got to wrap up this meeting and not make any decisions today. We're going to have to republish, get a new date set, and get all that done properly so that the public has an opportunity to tune in and have a copy of the agenda beforehand and all that.
Scott, was the nature of the call, was it improper? Because it was properly noticed. I did make sure that it was 72 hours in advance.
Correct.
The time was wrong originally from the one you sent out to us and the one that was noticed, so we moved this to 3. Or was it that the public wasn't able to access the Zoom meeting?
I think it was a public access issue, and I also think the fact that there was an agenda that was not an agenda that was posted on our website. Those were the two defects. So, like I said, I'm really sorry to do this because it sounded like you guys were on a roll, but I just want to make sure that we're protecting you guys as commission and not putting you guys in a vulnerable or compromised position.
And I appreciate that, Scott. The other thing was the notice was proper there as far as the public notification, but I did have a problem in that it's not a real big heartache, but it could cause problems down the line that it was noticed as a charter review committee, which we're not like a commission, and that's
Right.
another thing that has to happen. In that it's given its proper notification as the proper body.
Correct.
And I did see on there that it was available by Zoom, but I did not see a Zoom address to be accessed. So
Right. Now, my understanding was that this was going to go out via YouTube so that people could not only watch it live, but could also watch it at a later time. But there were I guess there were issues with that. And so rather than like I said, skate on some thin ice here. If you guys just want to basically set a time in a real some basic things that you guys want to put on an agenda for next time, then we can make sure that proper notice goes out and that we don't have any issues.
Well, Scott,
go ahead, proceed.
excuse me, Scott, the nominations that were made are null then?
I would say put them on the agenda and pick them up at the next meeting. That would probably be the easiest thing to do.
And another question, I wasn't able to get to be able to download the bylaws or the draft of the charter. Is there another way that you can maybe send them out? It wouldn't let me open the document.
Thank you. I didn't even get the draft charter by email, I don't think. I did look for it and I was unable to locate.
Okay. Well, let me do this. Let me give you guys my email address here at the city. And if you guys will just send me an email, and that way I've got your preferred email where you want me to send things for you. And that way I make sure I get it to you, because I was under the impression I was sending it out to everybody, but maybe evidently that wasn't the case. If you guys are ready with a pen and a pencil, I'll give that to you.
Yes.
Scott, if I can interrupt here real quick, I can get to them, and I had sent it on email to everybody, but I guess not everybody got them.
We got him, but we
I-
could not, I
I
got him, but
noticed-
I couldn't open him.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
It was,
Well, I will.
maybe
we'll
it's in the way that you sent him.
Yeah, we'll make
Okay.
sure that we get them to you, and Darlene can get your email addresses and stuff.
Yes.
And I've got a call I've got to make right now, so I'm gonna have to jump off. But we'll get this together, get it fixed, and get this right so that we don't have any issues in the future.
So if I may then for the next meeting, could we simply have an agenda, pretty much a standard agenda, call to order, establishing a quorum? We already organized today, but we could go through that again. if you
Yes, you'll need to go through all that again.
want. Organization of the board and adoption of the bylaws. And by that time, if we could all look at the bylaws prior to, and if we have any, and then by that time, Darlene, you could answer the question if the draft bylaws are in any way contrary to the charter. That's the question that was raised, Scott, that there by Lee, that the bylaws that you had sent out were contrary in a couple of areas to the charter.
Okay. Well, you guys can amend those at the next meeting if you guys want to do that. It shouldn't be an issue.
So let's do
Yes,
that. Let's
definitely.
organize a standard thing, and that's it. And then a discussion.
Okay. All right, guys.
I'll prepare an agenda for you all, okay? And when we'll get it done properly.
What's
Scott,
that, Matt?
This is Matt Martinez. Now, I'm on a number of other boards and commissions, and I know that every time you do a notice to the public, you have to have a Zoom link or Google link or whatever. I'm not sure because I've never ever heard of anybody else doing it on YouTube or any other platform. So I don't think we have to get every single platform that's out there. We just at least have to have one and that's what I've been using on all the ones that I've been on. And I'm on 2 boards that we meet every couple of weeks. So I don't think we need to be looking at every single possible platform. I think we need to be careful and allow the opportunity for people to know where we're at and then go from there.
Okay. Well, I know that the YouTube thing was something that the city clerk was doing. So I'll have to get with her on the specifics, but I'll bow out now if it's okay with you guys, and then let you guys wrap up with Darlene, and we'll get a new date and time on the calendar. We can pick up from there.
Scott, if you could stick around for a minute, if it's possible, I just had a look on the website, and this meeting is listed as a special meeting, and special meetings have different time frame to satisfy than the regular meetings that are posted in our annual Open Meetings Act resolution. I think that might be where we're stubbing our toe on this one.
Well, that wasn't my understanding, but I'll take a look into it.
Okay,
Thanks.
sure.
With that,
Okay.
Darlene, could you?
Lee, I think we did meet the 72-hour notice.
Yeah,
I think what happened here was there was probably a typo or something. The meeting was supposed to be at 1:30 and it got posted for 3 o'clock. So I think that's where all the mix-up happened. We did get it out there as a special meeting and we did meet the 72-hour notice and everything that we had.
Yeah, I think
So-
next time, if you could notice it, not as a special, but as a regular meeting of the City Charter Commission. And then, does everybody have a calendar? We can come up with a quick meeting date?
Okay, if we're gonna meet outside of our regular first Thursday of every month, it will have to be a special meeting.
Correct. And
Yes.
I will double check OMA and find the language I'm thinking of if it's there. I could be wrong, but I think we're pushed more towards 10 days for a special meeting. 72 hours is not necessarily.
I believe it's a 72-hour. We followed what city clerk had us do. So whatever she told us to do. I'm sorry, I didn't have anything to do with setting up the special or anything like that, but I will be involved with all future stuff from here on out and with preparing a proper agenda for you all and all that.
Now, let me ask you a quick question, Darlene. So
Yes.
you just made an interesting comment. So the regular meeting would be on Thursday.
Every first Thursday of the month at 1:30. That is what it lists in the bylaws and the charter. So we have
Okay.
to follow that. Yes. And Lee, I did go back and look at the bylaws, and I know what you're saying as far as the whole part of the election by one member had to be elected by the municipal judge. And that was left out in the bylaws, so we can amend that. And
Fantastic, thank you.
yes, and I can definitely check and see how the nominations were made, as far as we had to get, 6 members, from each, 1 from each ward at least.
Exactly. With
Yeah.
that, if the next regular meeting should be on the first Thursday, that would put us on March
The 4th of March.
4th. So you want to call the next meeting March 4th at 1:30 p.m.?
I
That would be
don't
great.
agree.
Is everybody in agreement with that? Then
Yes.
if you could prepare it, and we'll meet on March 4th and prepare the agenda, a simple agenda. There would be an organizational meeting with the election of officers and the adoption of bylaws.
Yes, sir.
And then a discussion, simple floor discussion, and then adjournment.
Okay,
we could
then
do-
I'll
we could do
revise
that
those
and that, and
bylaws.
We could do that, and then that would be simple. We'll just go over that again. We'll redo this, meet on the 4th. In the meantime, if you could, if they get the bylaws to you, review the bylaws, but then review the charter. If you have a chance, let's look at the charter, both the draft and the existing. I think we have some points that we can look at. I don't think that this shouldn't take a long time to go through and do. I think there's parts of the charter that are good. There's parts of the charter that are really kind of need some visiting. With that, informally, since we're actually not meeting, I guess we'll just say thank you. We don't need an adjournment since we weren't actually meeting.
And our apologies. This is a
No,
first go round for a lot of us, and so, you know, we're all,
Next meeting we'll watch. So, with that, thank you all, and I appreciate your trust and confidence. We'll go from there.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
See you,
All
everybody.
right,
thank you. If anybody has questions or needs to have any input on anything, or needs me to do anything further with the bylaws or anything like that, I will be back in the office tomorrow. So feel free to give me a call with anything that you guys need, okay?
Thank you for coming in.
Darlene and the other members, let me give you my phone number in case anybody has anything. So it's 505
Mm-hmm.
399-0868. And that's my personal cell phone number. If anybody besides you call me, I'm going to hunt you down. But, feel free to call me if you have an issue or a problem or you want to discuss something. I'm available.
Okay,
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
okay,
Thank you.
thank you, everybody.
Bye,
Okay,
Kendra.
Good seeing you all.
okay,
All right,
thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Christine.